It is 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the BUHS number 6 Board of Directors meeting to order for May 21st, 2018. And as always, we'll start with the clerk's report and the approval of the minutes of May 7th. I'm assuming board members all got those. Sean, thank you very much. I think the grid format's working out really well to keep things succinct and clear, which is really nice. Is there
the minutes of the 7th?
Move in second.
May 7th.
Is there any additions, deletions, corrections, changes we need to make to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay, no more. Minutes passed. Do any board members have any communications that have come before them? No? Okay, great. Oh, Sean, is that you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right, so recognition of groups and/or individual visitors, and we have a few visitors here tonight, which is wonderful. We don't normally have visitors. So I don't know if you're all together, if you're in different groupings, I'm not sure what the deal is. But if people wouldn't mind, when you speak, just introduce yourself, let us know why you're here and what town you're from, especially because it's going to be on BCTV so people at home can know that. And a lot more people watch this than ever come to meetings, so it's good for them to know what's going on. So why don't we start over here to my left, your right, and
Lisa Lambert Nicholson. I live in Brattleboro. I'm here with Kate and Alex to talk about our core transition collaborative team.
And my name is Kate Stevens. I live in Brattleboro. I'm a transition counselor with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation.
And my name's Alex Beck, and I work for the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, and I'm a Brattleboro resident.
introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Chris Levensey. I live in Brattleboro. I'm a teacher in Springfield. Just wanted to check out a meeting I had run for the school board, and I'm like to go to the meetings and see what happens.
And I'm Becca Polk. I'm a teacher in Springfield, but do a lot of work in Brattleboro, and also wanted to be here.
My name is Nipra Rebate. I'm a mom of a student at BAMS school. I heard about the meeting, so I'm so interested about what's going on.
So it sounds like the group to my left, your right, has something they want to talk to us about and present about, and you folks are listening, and that's great. So I'll turn it over to you and let us know why you're here.
I'll go first.
Sure. Yeah, so some of you might have heard of a group that I lead in the community called the Core Transition Team. Meetings are held monthly at the Brattleboro Vocational Rehabilitation Office for right now. We are one of 12 teams across the state, and it up at the sort of the tippy top at the Agency of Education and the Agency of Human Services got together about this idea of a way to get educators and service providers at one common table to talk about how to best serve youth in our community collaboratively. So in-school youth as well as out-of-school youth. So at the table, currently we have people, myself from the Department of Voc Rehab, the employment specialists that I work with, members from HCRS, the jobs program, and
Labor.
Department of Labor is there, Youth
Kindle
Services is there, Kindle Farm is there, Twin Valley is there, Leland and Gray is at the table. And we have a representative from the Creative Workforce Solutions, which is you can speak to more so to who they are, but our business account manager in the office, her name's Cindy Delgado. She sits at the table representing employers in our community. And our conversation consists of how we as providers, largely external to the school, can best serve youth at risk in our schools. And we feel as though it's important that in order to encourage smooth transitions for young people coming out of high school, perhaps staying in this community, perhaps going elsewhere, that we need to be talking frequently just about, because our programs are changing all the time. you know, like, especially the state agencies, Department of Labor, Voc Rehab, things change all the time, right? How to, you know, it's networking for people working with youth. And we want BUHS at the table. And we've tried to send out an invitation, and you know, it's tough. It requires time away. Currently, our meetings are from 2 to 4 p.m. on a Friday, which is a hard time to make. But we're willing to travel and have meetings sometimes take place at the school. We're willing to do conference calls if anyone were interested in doing that. It could be ideally a representative from special education, but not necessarily. Again, it's a lot of workforce development stuff, so somebody who is working with work-based learning programs could be there. So we're here just to, in person, invite someone to attend. In the summer, things sort of tend to settle down a little bit, and we sometimes take a break. So a good time to start up could be the fall, or it could be right away, but.
From my perspective, I attend these meetings as a parent representative because I have a family member who has special education needs and is in the process of starting to transition out into the community. And I think that, you know, all the work that we've done to try and move her into, you know, her full community membership, you know, is easily lost. And I've seen that with other families that have actually graduated and tried to transition, that a lot of that momentum is lost in that process. So it feels like there's a lot of investment from the school, a lot of taxpayer dollars, a lot of work that goes into helping people be, you know, think about work, think about college, think about after school, and that comes, it happens, and it's like falling off a cliff. There's nothing there. I mean, there are things there. There's, all of us are sitting in the room, but all of you are not there to help. So it seems like we have all these resources that are at people's disposal that are not being accessed or really utilized very effectively.
So this isn't just for special needs, for struggling students and
For
also
any
for-
students.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times they're on IEPs or 504, but yes, they could
So
be any.
could you give me an example, like a walkthrough of like maybe a typical student, what would happen, how it would work? Or
Well,
just-
the student one isn't so much the focus of the meetings,
Right.
the individual student. Sometimes on the agenda will be room for a provider to raise a difficult case and sort of toss that case. Oh, I'm dealing with this student, they're homeless, recently homeless, you know, they have this cognitive disability barrier in their way, they're looking for employment. I have no idea if they're eligible for Social Security, like they're tossed out here, they're not going to school anymore. Can the room help me? And then people will pitch in ideas, things from their program that might be able to help support this individual. And then after the meeting, they can talk with, you know, respect and confidentiality about the specific needs of that student. But for the most part, we talk more broadly. I like to invite a presenter to come for each meeting. So somebody maybe from the Job Corps program, maybe somebody from the College Steps program, some of the post-secondary programs that are, or the training programs that are out there for kids after high school.
There's a lot out there.
There
And
is.
as a parent, I have to say, I didn't know about any of them until I started going to these meetings. And I've been in Brattleboro school system throughout with a child who's on an IEP. So, you know, that's a lot, and there's so much to know that it's really hard for me to grasp sitting in these meetings. Like, there's this grant, and there's this grant, and there's this grant, and then I hear from the Department of Labor people, like, our kids are coming out and they are not ready to work. And we have a business community and a workforce development problem in this state that's very significant.
Yeah, and I'll dive in, and you know, I believe I was asked to speak to talk about both the need and the opportunity of engaging in not just this specific group, but groups similar to it as well. At the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, we're part of SEVEDS, Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies, and our key priorities are raising median household income, growing the size and quality of the workforce, and increasing wage parity. And those sound sometimes like boring statistics, but what it looks like is ensuring every person of any age has the skills they need to succeed in our economy, not only for those people, but for their families that may depend on them, and for our own, the strength of our schools and our communities. It's really important to do so. So we know that at the BDCC how important this is. There isn't anyone employed at the BDCC who has experience working with people with barriers to employment. So we immediately see the need that while we've had success engaging with all of the schools, there are shortcomings that we don't provide. And similarly, we have relationships with employers that other agencies might not. So we sit around what we call the WorkNet, and I would say half of the core, there's at least 3 or 4 core members who sit on that as well. And what I've really learned is people like Cindy Delgado from Creative Workforce Solutions, Leo Schiff from Voc Rehab, when they're in the room and we're working on something, they always get a table there, and vice versa. And so it's harder to articulate the exact opportunity, but they are there, and I don't think you don't want to miss those opportunities to engage in something like a career fair that may not happen at just this school if someone doesn't bring up the idea. And I think we all know how overworked most of our guidance counselors are and our support staff are. This can also be capacity to support your school system and your students, that you won't need to justify in front of town meeting day every year. That's another benefit I see, is that these are resources that the state and our community have already invested in, and ensuring that your students and the school system benefit from it is great. And sometimes it feels like an extra meeting that you don't want to go to. But then there's that meeting that something happens that never would have happened in the school, and I can certainly speak to that. We're working on a new hire for our organization that will work in the schools, and we made sure to invite as many different partners to help write that job description. And so we're finding better applicants for this position we have just because we had a diverse group of people in the room with more educational background than we did. And so that's one example of how we use collaboration to really make all investments that are made in this community go farther, and to make sure at least everything is known. Do our resources as widely available as we think they are or not, and not at this school, but at another school. I've met a work-based learning teacher who says, I know that there's someone from this agency in our school, but I haven't met them yet. So when it comes time when that one student who's having a difficult day might really need to speak with someone, I know they're here, but I don't know where they are. And so those are these little ways to help shore up some of those gaps that may or may not exist. And so that's why I'm really here to advocate that we're never going to have a workforce solution that can serve all students equitably, and we know that. And so by partnering, you can start spreading out the impact of all the work we're doing in our little silos.
So that sort of sums it up. I mean, if anyone has any more questions, we're really open to answering. And yeah, it's just an invitation. And I would be the person to contact if anyone were interested in learning more, knowing more. I know lots of people at the school already, so I can follow up too about that in person. But does anyone have any questions?
I'm just curious from the school perspective, did you all know about this group that meets?
No, we know all the players, but I've never heard of the core transition team format, so I'd like you to get in touch with me at some point.
And I did know about them. Yeah. And we were supposed to have coverage, but it sounds like it hasn't happened.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like to me like it could be a good opportunity for, any opportunity, so somebody's not falling through the cracks is always a good thing, in my mind.
Do you have a presence on the internet?
No.
No.
That's for
You don't
sure.
have any,
We could work on it. Sorry.
So there's not like a homepage where somebody can get your, your policy or your goals, and people involved and so forth.
Yeah.
Those are good ideas.
No, we do like to take on project-based,
Yeah.
as a team, sort of pick out a project and work on it. So that is one that would be good for the future. We just finished this year an area resource guide for it's going to, in collaboration with the Vermont Family Network. Just kind of a central internet place to put all of the resources that we could ever imagine for young people that exist in Windham County, up on the Vermont Family Network webpage. So that was our
That's
project
there
for this
now.
year. It is there now, yeah. I should be finished.
So it's Vermont Family Network?
Vermont Family Network, yeah, I was trying to put one together for each county in the state. So the core team took that on this
Yeah.
year. We've talked about doing brochures.
We've been talking about how to raise money. I mean, the challenge of having a collaborative team is that, that's a lot of little agencies and a lot of silos. So figuring out how to, get everyone to hitch to the same wagon and move towards a concrete goal like you're describing can be a little challenging, I think. But we did start what we called a traveling table kind of idea. So we have a table of resources, and we were at, what was the name of that fair that we went to?
Oh, it was a
There was a
small
fair at the
business.
River Garden, a small business fair, but, we're interested in knowing when are the career fairs, when are any venues that we could take our little table with our information about all these programs, and it's a table full of flyers of information. Where can we best, find those opportunities? And we're not gonna hear about them. Sometimes I hear about them through an email to my daughter, who's in school, but we don't hear about them from an official channel,
And we would love to throw you all a transition fair. That's a big goal of mine, is to throw the community a fair where all of the people can come for one night. It could be here at the school. All things transition, and we could invite people from other places around the state. A lot of my cohorts in other counties around the state do that with their local school, their local high school. They put on a fair where people can come and learn from everything there.
Great.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? Well, it sounds like you're gonna get some connections from administration, which is great, and thank you for coming, I appreciate that.
Thank you for
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So is there a motion to go into consent agenda? So moved. Moved and seconded? All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. So let's start with finance, building, and transportation.
Thank you. Finance, Building, and Transportation met on the 17th, and we approved vouchers numbers 1206 through 1208 and 1210 through 1219 in the amount of $392,027.80. In addition, we approved payroll authorizations March 2nd, $510,995.95. March 16, $500,169.64. March 30, $504,079.02. April 13th, $502,600.77. And April 27th, $499,343.73. In addition, we reviewed our year-to-date progress is related to budget in the general fund, and reviewed variances that might be of concern at this point. We feel that we're in pretty good shape with a few weeks left to go. No great surprises in those numbers, but just an update for us. We also approved the administration's recommendation for Hinsdale tuition memo of understanding for the Career Center to work an arrangement for more Hinsdale students hopefully to come over and give them a tuition rate that they can count on for a reasonable period of time. We received an update on transportation and food service bids. Transportation and food service both I believe are being done at the SESU level, but Frank gave us an update on where they stand. We asked for a little more information on our constant project that we do of field improvements. I know there's some work going on and will be going on, and we asked for get a little more information on that for our next meeting, which will be June 13th at 8 o'clock in the central office.
Excellent. Thank you. WSESU Finance Committee, Russ isn't here, so I'm assuming, unless somebody else from the board went to the SESU Finance Committee meeting? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so skip over that, and next is Planning and Policy.
Planning and Policy met this evening. We reviewed the 2 policies that we are still reviewing. We have a 3rd policy that is ready to be adopted tonight. Essentially, we just went over the things that were discussed in our first reading and the board's second reading of those policies. I will make adjustments to them and send out new adjusted versions for everyone to see, so we can vote on them next session.
Teacher Curriculum Committee. Did TCC meet? I don't think it did. Okay. BAMS Committee.
BAMS has not met.
WRCC.
Has not met.
Okay. Anything else for consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve? Oh, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I apologize, and I didn't speak up in the beginning because the transition was fast and it's my first time coming.
That's okay.
But Nebras had sent a letter in to everyone here that she was hoping people had received, and it seems like that was the first thing that was mentioned, if any letters had come in.
Communications, yeah.
That's what
A little bit later in our
communications is.
meeting, I, as the board chair, have a chance to do a report, and I was gonna say something about it,
Okay,
but,
wonderful.
so,
No, I just
we'll
wanted-
get there.
Wonderful,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And anything else for consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay. So we're going to move to administrative reports. And why don't we start with BAMS?
All right. Hi, everyone. Quite a few things, since it's been a little while since I might have missed the last meeting, I'm not sure, but let's see. I'm going to cover some past events you may have read in the newspaper and seen in various local publications, some conversation and articles about an assembly we had that presented a few challenges, didn't go as planned, and so we're moving on. I've had some good conversations with John Ungerleiter and some email exchanges with local members of the local Jewish community, and tried to acknowledge some things that didn't go very well, and so hoping that it's been a good learning experience, I guess, I would definitely say. Other things, staff appreciation. We had, Teacher Appreciation Day was May 8th. I celebrated as a whole staff, and we gave out some BAMS t-shirts, and it was a good week. We've been doing smarter balance testing. As you remember last year, I think Steve helped give you a little sample test of it, and so that's been happening as smooth as, pretty much as smooth as it could be. Now that we've been doing it for a few years, really well done by our technology staff. Our internet bandwidth connectivity issues have really improved dramatically, and we've invested a lot in our Wi-Fi, and I think the high school was testing at the same time we were, and no connectivity problems that I was aware of, at least over at BAMS, and it's gone well. The science testing, we start tomorrow morning. That's the first time, so kneecaps are a thing of the past finally. And And that testing was challenging because it was pencil and paper and a lot of administrative tasks with mailing them. And so they're now doing the science on the same portal system as the SBAC. So this year's kind of like a pilot year with that, and excited about that. Retirement dinner was the 11th, and a lot of BAM staff and other staff at BU6 were recognized for years of service and excellence. So it was a nice evening. Last week we had our Pops concert, spring Pops concert, and parents, students did it. Students performed well. I'd like to thank Lise Wadsworth and Riley Goodmoat for all their work getting the kids ready. A good year of concerts. Upcoming events, a lot of end-of-year trips. Leo went to Camp Glenbrook over in Marlborough, New Hampshire a few days ago, and Team Canis is going to Lake Spofford, and I believe Taurus and Draco are both going to Boston. Peak also has a trip scheduled. Our talent show is May 25th. Student leadership is running that, so we'll have that's this Friday. We'll have an assembly in the afternoon, and kids will perform. I forgot to mention our intensive services are going to Black Mountain for a picnic and hike this next few weeks, so they'll be excited about that. Team Draco's doing, Jake McDermott, one of our science teachers, is invested money into canoes and a nice canoe trailer, and last year we started doing they did an overnight trip with a bunch of students and canoed down the Connecticut River, and so he's beefing up that because it was such a success. So they're going to do a little camping and canoeing in the coming weeks, so it's exciting. And then we have some end of year things, just a couple of them. Taurus is doing a museum night on June 5th, which is kind of part of our student-led, student-centered approach, and so students will be doing kind of end-of-year presentations that evening, and they set up displays, and it's called the Museum Nights, building off some things we've done in the past. June 6th, for the first time, I'm really excited about this, and I'll share it at our next meeting. The Vermont Middle Level Association has done a Scholar Leader dinner, banquet dinner, for many years, and I went to it in my previous schools, and we hadn't attended from BAMS, and I've talked to the teams a few times, and this year I got the 2 8th grade teams on board with it. I'm pretty excited about it, and they've selected one student from each team, so there'll be 2 representatives from BAMS. They cap it at 2 students and their families. Myself, there'll be a kind of a team from BAMS going up to Norwich University to be recognized. It's called the Vermont Scholar Leader Dinner, and it's an excellent evening. Pretty excited. Last but not least, June 13th is our move up for 8th grade, and our last day for 7th grade is June 19th, and that's a half day, I believe, for all of BU6. So, all right, a lot of information there. Any questions? All right,
Great.
thank you.
Excellent. We'll move down one to the high school.
Sure. First, I'd like to recognize Steve Rice. Steve Rice was awarded the Madeline Moore Award, which is a district-wide award given to a staff member who shows exemplary service to all of the students in the district. And it was ironic and kind of fitting that it was presented at the retirement dinner, and Steve was in Essex with the band at the All-State Music Festival. So Central Office came and visited us on Tuesday to present him with his award. And it's a great honor for Steve. It's a great honor for the high school to have somebody recognized. Along those same lines, the Pops concert will be this Thursday at 7 o'clock in the auditorium. It is your last chance to see our vocal and instrumental ensembles this year. So, that's one of my favorite concerts. It's usually a great upbeat show, so if you get a chance to check that out, that'd be great. As Keith said, we are finished with our SBAC exams. You may remember that we asked a few months ago to take and do 2 half days where we had 9th graders stay for 2 days, and we had 11th graders stay for 1 day to do the science testing. It went pretty well overall. It's good to actually be able to establish a positive testing environment for all of our kids by having everybody clear out. Along the same lines, we're winding down AP testing. We have a wide range of AP courses that we offer, both through virtual high school and face-to-face, and those are wrapping up. What a lot of people don't realize is that we also do state-mandated PE testing. And Kelly DeRosia and Luke Croxton have been doing a great job of calling back all of the kids and doing the mandated testing, agility, strengths, and things like that. And they're doing a fantastic job with that. I want to recognize some graduates. Heather Cohen, Peter Canizero, and Sherry Lewis have all gotten master's degrees last weekend from Southern New Hampshire University. That's a program that is actually done here, and they've spent 2 years doing that program, so congratulations to them. Along those same lines, Mike Auerbach, science teacher, he was here at the last board meeting. He received his internet teaching master's from Brattleboro from the Grad Center, so congratulations to Mike as well. We're pretty proud. The International Studies Academy, which I think the board knows, we have our STEM Academy, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, and then we have our VPA, our Visual and Performing Arts Academy. This year we began an International Studies Academy, and it's a partnership between our English department, Social Studies department, and Modern and Classical Language department. And they've actually selected 8 students for the upcoming year. 5 of those students are 8th graders, and then 3 of them are current 9th graders. That means in the second year, that academy will be 16 students strong, which is great growth in a really quick fashion. So we're pretty proud. English and Modern Classical Language are having their senior award ceremony in the BUHS multipurpose room. That's Tuesday, May 29th at 3:45. That's generally a great ceremony. They recognize students who work in literature. They recognize students who work in foreign language. They also recognize students in travel, so the chance to attend that. Again, Tuesday, May 29th in the NPR after school. Today was the first day of our long block ACE trial. It's an interesting experiment we're trying where we are ending block 2 at 11:30, and then students have from 11:35 to 12:40 as unscheduled time. And if having unscheduled time for that long strikes fear into your heart, it does mine as well. Today things went pretty well. They spent time in advisory, and then students went to lunch. We've invited students, and student council actually sent out a great follow-up asking students to be respectful and to use the time well. One of the things we struggle with is how do we create opportunities for student agency and student voices in the school day. And so we've been looking at this model. We began looking at it in October. And so we decided to try it for these 2 weeks, this week and next week. And then when that trial's over, we're going to go back to our old schedule, gather feedback from students, from parents, from staff, and kind of see, is this something we want to explore as a regular daily schedule for next year. And I have to give Keith kudos as well because we don't have a formal lunch period. Our cafeteria is open from 11:30 to 12:40, so students can go get lunch whenever they want to. Probably the most poignant thing that happened today is I had a student come up to me, a very accomplished student. They said, "Well, what do I do?" And I said, "Well, what do you think you need to do?" "Well, I need to do some science." "Well, then you should do some science." "But it's not scheduled." "Right." So now you can go schedule that time with a teacher and get that done. So it's been an interesting experiment. Last week we had Keith and I and took part in Youth and Government Day, and we both had students with us for the morning, and this was sponsored by the Elks Club. It gives students a chance to kind of see what it's like to be a person in government in the area. Everybody from Mark Kerrigan at Brattleboro Police Department to Keith and myself and other educators were a part of this, and Molly was actually with Superintendent Holliday, and I hope she'll talk about that experience a little bit. And so that was a fun experience. I had Isaac, and you had? Okay. Okay. If possible, I'd like to meet with TCC at the next board meeting. we have some 1% to consider, and so I'd like to do that before we go to summer rules, if we could. I also would like to ask the board, I have a recommendation. As you know, Kevin Martell has moved on. He'll be moving out at the end of the year. He's our Social Studies Department Chair. Tessa Anders has been hired as the Social Studies Chair. Her position became vacant. We had 64 people apply for the position. We interviewed 9, and I am pleased to recommend the appointment of Mr. Gregory McClung as the Social Studies teacher at BUHS beginning in July 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the approval of Mr. Greg
McClung.
McClung as a social studies teacher.
Second.
Moved and seconded? All right. Any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. And a resignation, math teacher Ryan Connors, this is his first year here. Ryan has decided to move on to other things. He will be resigning at the end of this school year. And so if any board members are interested, we are doing interviews this Thursday. So if you're interested, right now we have 2 interview slots. So if you want to let me know.
What time are those slots?
10:30 and 1.
So if that's his first year, don't we give him a 1-year contract?
We do.
So they have to resign, is that how it works?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, he's choosing to resign. So I guess I need a motion to accept Mr. Connor's resignation as well.
Yes. Is there a motion?
I move we accept the resignation of Mr. Connors with regret.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
All right. Then we move down to student council.
We have yet to paint the shed, but that's on our agenda.
Yep, we have talked to Ms. Perrin and the facilities manager about doing a school beautification day. We have not set an official date yet, but we hope to repaint the track shed, and then maybe plant some flowers and other smaller projects like that.
I think Mr. Woodward wants to help with the painting of the track shed. He got very
We'll
excited.
take any help we can get.
He got really excited.
I've been looking at that for a long time, the paint.
And this could be a possible activity during the long ACE, maybe, too.
We've talked about that a little, yep. And then our only other thing coming up is on Thursday, there will be an administrative lunch, so there will be a panel with Mr. Parent on it and the vice principals and some student council members. And then students can ask questions, eat lunch with us, talk about the upcoming year, any concerns or thoughts that they have about it.
As well as concerns for next year, ideas for next year, and the proficiency grading.
Did you tell us who you are? Because we know Molly, but.
Oh, I'm Katie Taggart, I'm president of the student council.
And last Thursday, we had a finance committee meeting at central office, and Molly, as superintendent for the morning, came and was introduced to us, but I'd love to hear how your day was as superintendent.
It was super interesting. I learned so much about like finance, especially. Basically makes the whole school run. But yeah, it was really interesting to see like what all the work that everybody put into making everything behind the scenes of BAMS and the surrounding schools and BUHS really run. And I was really shocked to see the amount of people that all worked together and tried to make the community really run as a place for education. So it was really nice.
All right. Central office.
I have one item. I'm Marisa Duncan-Hawley, since I don't have a name card, Director of Special Education. This is from the state of Vermont, the Vermont Municipal Employees Retirement System. They are looking for an employer representative on their municipal retirement system. And so just putting this out there, if anybody's interested in being part of this Board of Trustees, you can ask for the letter from me. That's the only item I have.
All right, excellent. And really the only item that, well, I had two things that I wanted to touch base on, and one of them was just a reminder about the end of the school year stuff for board members, because between moving up ceremonies and graduations and award nights and things like that, we as board members work really hard all year and have these meetings together, but this is a really good opportunity, if you've never been to some of these things, to go to them and see what we're working so hard for. So I encourage you to get to as many of those things as you can get to. It's a good night. They're all good wherever they are, whether it's an award night or a moving up or a graduation, whatever. But
Can we get just like a summary email of all the different things going on?
that'd be great. Yeah, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Because there are a lot of dates and a lot of things happening, which I know we've gotten word about and written down in different places. I know I have them in different places and I'm trying to transfer them to a calendar, so that'd be great. The other thing is I know I got the email, and I'm going to butcher your name, so I'm not going to try to do that. But and then I know you as Ayub's mom,
Yes.
so because I happen to know her son, who's a middle schooler, and she sent an email. And did everyone get that email?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And I thank you for, I'll speak for the rest of the board. I know that a lot of times when we hear from parents, it's because something's not right, not that something's right. So I appreciate the fact that you reached out to us when, your son was feeling extra supported and that things were more positive. Because like I said, we as the board typically only hear about the things when things aren't going well from a parent. So it was nice to hear from a parent that it was a positive interaction that a student had. So thank you for that. And is there anything else you want to say related to that? Or?
Yeah. As a person, a foreigner from the United States, I'm here like for an asylum applicant and either my son. So when I heard about the story about Ziad and what's going on, so I want to put my opinion for my son at the school and have different nationality that he would love really to have to know or to be knowledge about the different kind of nationality around him in the school. And when he saw Ziad, he was so excited, like when he spoke his language, he said, "Oh, you speak my language." So they start like talk, both of them Arabic, so, and like they share a lot of common things in culture. When he back to home, he was like really excited, and he told me about like he said, "Oh, Mom, today we have someone get invited as a speaker in the school, and he speaks the same language." And he was talking about Palestine and Israel, and I mean, he was like really happy that these the kind of things that show him that really the school show kind of respect for him, and this is like it's make me really happy for that. Like he really felt that. So I will really support that. Like I would really to have like more kind of speakers from different kind of nationality, internationals, like, and they share their culture with the students, so the student be more knowledge about like what's going on around the world. And Ayub, he will feel like the other student around him, they will know exactly about like his country, about the Middle East, about North Africa, like what exactly going on there. So he will feel like the other student, they are with him in the same zone. Like they will not like be, he will not be like in like self bubble, so yeah.
Thank you. One of the things from your email that I really took as really positive is that to help other students understand what his life was like prior to coming here. So I think that's one of the things that we do pretty well in the school, is giving our students a different perspective of the world. But there's so many different perspectives of the world, it's great to be able to focus in and give all of our students some different perspectives. So thank you for your encouraging email.
Yeah. As well.
Yeah.
I'm a good friend of Nebraska's, and I've known them since they have come here. And I teach middle school. I actually did my internship here in Brattleboro. And I just feel like it's so important because as a white teacher, I can teach all different kinds of things and teach about other cultures. But I know Ayub, the moment I saw him, he came and told me that Ziad had come and he met someone from Palestine and he didn't expect to meet someone from Palestine here who was coming into the school. And so I just also wanted to support that, knowing that even as much as I try to teach my students about the world, it's different when it's coming from a person who's lived through that experience.
And I'll just say I teach, well,
Just introduce yourself.
yes,
sorry.
my name is Anne Kaplan-Galaire. I, up until December, taught social studies at Brattleboro Area Middle School, and now I'm on maternity leave. But I'll be teaching there again next year. So Ayub was and is my student. And I just wanted to communicate there's another student that had contact with me whose parents couldn't be here tonight who felt similarly. They were really enthusiastic about the presentation.
Yeah.
I'm going to add as well. My name is Chris Levensey. I also want to put in, and I thought it was poignant what you said, Ricky, that lots of times as a teacher we hear only the bad issues or things that are struggle with, that parents struggle with and students struggle with, and I don't always hear the good things. And I had Ziad come to my classroom and talk this time, and as many other times, and I had such wonderful feedback from my students about this, about, first of all, these were new information, and hearing it from someone's lived experience was really engaging for them, and they don't always engage with speakers, and Ziad talked for about an hour and a half with them, and so it was really wonderful, and the lessons that have come out of it, some hard conversations, and I wanted to put out that I want us to not be afraid of that, even if there's pushback in different ways, that this is really important, and we can get through those difficult conversations, and as a community be more enlightened for it. And so my fear is that we shut down from when we get pushback about stuff, as opposed to pushing through and moving past those difficult or through those difficult conversations. And I'm very thankful that he has come, he's come in the past, and look forward to future times that he comes. So.
I wanted to add
Yeah.
one more things final. I mean, I'm glad that I'm here. When I decided to come to here to United States, a lot of friends advised me to come to Vermont especially, and they said like Vermont, it's the most state welcoming to the foreigners, and I really love, I mean, the area that the people that I'm in contact with, they are really friendly, they are very understandable, they are very welcoming to me and my son, and I'm really glad for that.
Excellent. All right, so let's move to the next part of our agenda, which is unfinished business, and we have a local board policy for adoption. So I'll turn it over to Ian.
Get the name of that. What it is? Fund investment policy statement.
Yes, we have one policy for adoption. Why I couldn't find it, because I was taking notes on the back of it.
Oh, good.
Policy LDP 6, the fund investment policy statement. I move that we adopt policy LDP 6, fund investment policy statement as written.
Second.
Okay, 1 second. Any additional correction, questions or comments about that one? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? None? Okay, passes. There's nothing else listed under unfinished business, unless I'm missing something. I don't think there is. So moving to new business, we have an Act 250 school impact. Actually, do you have that, Marissa?
I do have it.
Okay, good.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, you're going to share it with us? That'd be great.
Sure. Okay, so this is, the proposed project is to replace the heating system with a series of high-pressure steam boilers. I think that this is at the hospital. And this boiler upgrade is independent of any upcoming surgical addition or renovation projects. But there is a school impact questionnaire that has to be completed. So I guess that Lyle had said that you need to vote on this,
Yeah,
but I'm
so-
not sure
But there's no impact, because they're not adding employees, they're not doing anything like that. So those that
It
don't
is
know,
just the board.
Act 250, a certain dollar amount, it triggers an Act 250 assessment by the schools. Because typically, when it's a construction project, because typically you might be adding housing or jobs, which then would affect families moving to the community. This is just, so it probably just triggered some dollar amount
Okay.
with the Act 250, so they have to do this. So essentially, we just need a motion to approve Lyle to sign off on the Act 250 related to the boiler project for Brattleboro Memorial Hospital.
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second? All right. Since there's not going to be no impact of students coming to the school for it, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? None. Excellent. Occasionally, over the years, I remember occasionally we had one like this that has no student impact at all, and this just happens to be one of those. But they have to bring it to our attention. So they've done their due diligence. All right. Is there anything else under new business for tonight's meeting?
Not under new business, but I have one other thing.
Yes.
Maybe. Did I remember to mention back in consent agenda what our timeline for the
You did not.
Flag policy was? Okay. I was just thinking about that because we had just discussed it at the end of our planning and policy meeting and then moved into this meeting. And I didn't think I brought it up. So what we have for that timeline is our next meeting, the June meeting. We will have an initial draft for a flag policy. In the July meeting, we'll have our second read on that. That's where we should plan on having the most discussion about the policy. And assuming we can work out any details in that July meeting and the meeting before it, we will have the finalization in August.
All right. Excellent. Anything else to come before the agenda tonight? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there being no further business, I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sorry, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Additions or, we're out of here. Thank you.
I know.
We are adjourned. Excellent. Adjournment. That's what the word for.